A massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, especially these days. 8 different settings, adjustable intensity, plus it's heated, and it just feels so good. Yes, a massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, but when it can come with a car, suddenly it seems quite practical. The all-new 2025 Volkswagen Tiguan, packed with premium features like available massaging front seats, it only feels extravagant.
You just realized that you needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people that you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? Well, in the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Just go to Indeed.com/BWN right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
And away we go, episode 1111 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Friday, July 11th, 2025. So episode 1111 on 7/11/25. Appropriate. And we now are just a week away until rookies report for 2025 Commanders training camp. Rookies report for Commanders training camp on July 18th. Veterans report for Commanders training camp on July 22nd. The team's break between the offseason program and training camp is nearly done. Hello and welcome to this Friday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Speaking of dates, this Sunday is July 13th, the 5-year anniversary of the Redskins retiring the Redskins name and logo. Yes, 5 years have passed. Half of a decade has passed since Redskins went bye-bye. And here we are. This does remain an issue. Heck, the Washington Times, did you see this? Just ran an opinion piece from a Chief Walt Red Hawk Brown on why the Commanders should go back to being the Redskins. The piece was published on July 8th. Anyway, with this 5-year anniversary and off the oh-so-well-received reveal of the Commanders' Redskins-like alternate uniform for the 2025 season on Wednesday morning, and off the team's Renaissance season this past season, and off everything else that has happened with the team over the last 5 years, we next segment are gonna have a discussion on the state of being a fan of the team. And we are going to have this discussion with someone whose journey as a Commanders fan, I believe, is representative of the journeys of a lot of fans of the team. Brent, a.k.a. Burgundy Blog on X. Brent is one of the sharpest, most astute Commanders observers on X. So what he has been doing on Twitter/X for years now is mimicked by a lot of people. But he is an originator. He is one of the first fans of the team to become a big deal on social media via commenting on the team. And he has gone from having lost a lot of passion for the team to now being reinvigorated as a fan of the team, even though he hates the name Commanders. We as fans, of course, are all different. We as fans, of course, all have our own stories, but Brent's story likely rings true for a lot of people. Brent, a.k.a. Burgundy Blog on X. Next segment on the state of Commanders fandom 5 years after the Redskins retired the Redskins name and logo. Also on the show, I'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats, they on Thursday night lost at the St. Louis Cardinals 8-1 to lose 2 out of 3 games in the series. The O's, they had a very good Thursday. They on Thursday morning made a smart trade, traded reliever Bryan Baker to the Tampa Bay Rays for the number 37 overall pick in the 2025 MLB Draft. And the O's on Thursday afternoon and evening swept a doubleheader against the New York Mets at Oriole Park at Camden Yards to win 2 out of 3 games in the series. Thursday afternoon, a 3-1 win over the Mets in Game 1 of the doubleheader, and a game in which the O's overcame a 1-0 eighth-inning deficit by scoring 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th. And then Thursday evening, a 7-3 win over the Mets to complete the Orioles' first sweep of a regular season doubleheader since, incredibly, June 25th, 2016. The O's now are 26-16 since their 16-34 start to MLB's 2025 regular season. Before we get to some feedback, more moves by our rebuilding and tanking Wizards on Thursday. We on Thursday afternoon had reports that the Wizards are re-signing restricted free agent Tristan Vukcevic to a 2-way NBA contract. And we on Thursday evening had reports that the Wizards and unrestricted free agent Marvin Bagley III have agreed on a 1-year contract. So Bagley is back. The Wizards this past February 6th, what was 2025 NBA trade deadline day, traded Bagley to the Memphis Grizzlies as part of a 3-team trade with the Sacramento Kings. Bagley was taken by the Kings out of Duke with the number 2 overall pick in the 2018 NBA Draft. So yet another player taken via a first-round pick for our Wizards. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me, the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. From John Guccione on X on this podcast. Great that I can listen early mornings on vacation in OC while the wife sleeps. Hope you're feeling better. Thank you for that, John. OC, Ocean City. I love it. I am feeling better. I had COVID last week, although actually my wife now has COVID. Our 2 kids so far are fine. As far as I know, have had COVID twice. My wife, as far as I know, has had COVID twice. Our kids, as far as we know, have never had COVID, although maybe they have had it and we just did not know. Kids, as we know, do well with COVID. Lots of feedback on the Redskins-like alternate uniform that the Commanders revealed on Wednesday morning. Email from Corey Schreiner. Writes Corey, while we did not get our beloved proud Native American warrior logo on the helmet, the beckoning back to the glory days is a masterstroke by the ownership group. This helps to bridge the gap between the older fans who grew up rooting for the Redskins and the new fans who have seen more name changes than winning seasons. The new uniforms are straight fire, pronounced fire. And the video released on Twitter got me ready for week 1. Kudos to the marketing department. It knows exactly what it is doing. I have not bought any merch since the WFT days, but I am now looking to run up my charge card on a replica JD5 jersey, t-shirts, and several hats. September 7th cannot come soon enough. HTTR. As always, thanks for following DMV Sports so that we don't have to. Thank you very much for the email, Corey. Email from John Granlund. Writes John, Al, how about these liars saying the burgundy was the same color? Saw this pic on Twitter. Get the F out of here, Jason Wright. Thank you for the email, John G. And included in John's email is something that you perhaps have seen. 2 side-by-side photos, one of Chase Young during his time as a Washington edge defender, wearing a jersey with supposed burgundy that in no way is burgundy. The other photo is of Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels wearing the Redskins-like alternate uniform with the true burgundy. Yeah, big difference. Nice to have our colors back. And, regarding our former team president, Jason Wright, the extent to which this alternate uniform is being universally well received offers quite the contrast to how despised and mocked the announcement of the team name being the Commanders was on that hideous day of February 2nd, 2022. What right? And the team branded as 2.2.22. But compare the reaction to the alternate uniform reveal on Wednesday morning to the reaction of the reveal of the name Commanders on 2.2.22. So different. The former is a classic example of a team reading the room to perfection. The latter is a classic example of a team having no idea what the team is doing. Never forget the announcement on NBC's The Today Show on 2.2.22. Anchor and Washington fan Craig Melvin, along with Washington interior defensive lineman Jonathan Allen, team president Jason Wright, and senior advisor to Jason Doug Williams. All four guys were seated in chairs on the field in an empty FedEx Field on a freezing cold day in the Washington, D.C. area. Craig asked Jason a question, and then Jason gave Doug the honors.
Let's not make folks wait. Let's not drag it out, Jason. What is the new team name?
Doug, what is it?
We are the Commanders.
We are the Commanders.
The Commanders. The Washington Commanders.
That's right.
Oh, wow. You didn't waste any time there.
There it is.
And there it is. Email from Chris Moore in Odenton, Maryland. Writes Chris, "Hi, Al. I know that you and I tend to disagree on the name issue, even if I accept the results of the poll saying that 90% of indigenous people don't have a problem. Offending 10% of a population is not insignificant or some weird outlier. However, I think we do agree that the name isn't coming back. Unfortunately, too many of our fellow fans are name extremists who will never be satisfied unless the name and imagery are completely restored. Predictably, the name extremists are reacting how I'd expected to the debut of the Super Bowl era alts, complaining about them not using the Wetzel logo or restoring the name. My tact when dealing with someone who will never be satisfied is to disregard that person's wishes and do what you feel is right, morally, branding-wise, etc. I know that I'm not alone in immediately searching for a Jaden Daniels Super Bowl-era jersey. Call us Redskins, call us Washington football team, call us Commanders, just call us champs sooner than later. Rays hail. Thanks for your time and always measured perspectives." Thank you for the email, Chris. You and I do disagree on the name issue, but that's okay. There in 1990 was a hip-hop collaboration song called "We're All in the Same Gang." Are you familiar with that song? An all-time great song. A bunch of eventual hip-hop legends got together to do an anti-violence song. We're all in the same gang. The West Coast Rap All-Stars. Dr. Dre, Ice-T, Eazy-E, MC Ren, Digital Underground, Tone Loc, MC Hammer, and many others. Was a very nice gesture with actually a very good message. A message that we still need today. But the name of the song, "We're All in the Same Gang." And that's how I feel about a smart, reasonable person like Chris. Yeah, we may disagree on the issue of the name Redskins, but that's okay. Like the great song says, we're all in the same gang.
Ready to rack to school and save big? Get to your Nordstrom Rack store today for thousands of deals from just $20.
Because I want to look fresh.
How did I not know Rack has Adidas?
I got a new backpack.
Score everyone's favorite denim, sneakers, boots, and activewear from Nike, Levi's, Steve Madden, Madewell, and Free People. Great brands, great prices. Everyone's got a reason to rack. Shop Nordstrom Rack and make it the best school year ever.
Whenever I need to send roses that are guaranteed to make someone's day, the only place I trust is 1-800-Flowers.com. With 1-800-Flowers, my friends and family always receive stunning, high-quality bouquets that they absolutely love. Right now, when you buy a dozen multicolored roses, 1-800-Flowers will double your bouquet to 2 dozen roses. To claim this special double roses offer, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/Pandora. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Pandora.
Hey, if you happen to be listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can write a review of the podcast saying that you like it. The review can be just a sentence or two, but the reviews do help out the podcast a lot. Thank you very much for doing them. This Sunday, July 13th, 2025 marks the 5-year anniversary of the Redskins retiring the Redskins name and logo. So much has happened with the team since then. The team went from the Redskins to the Washington football team to the Commanders. The team dealt with all that went into the saga of owner Dan Snyder, including a major rift within his ownership group, an organizational workplace misconduct scandal, countless investigations, and a sale of the team to the Josh Harris Group. The team in the 2024 offseason underwent a massive football operations revamping. The team this past season enjoyed a renaissance season, thanks in large part to a quarterback and Jaden Daniels, who had an all-time great rookie season. We, over the last 5 years, as fans of this team, have had enough happen for 50 years. What is the state of fandom of the team 5 years after the retirements of the Redskins name and logo? I am very pleased to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast, Brent, a.k.a. Burgundy Blog, on X. Brent is one of the most influential Commanders observers on X. He is one of the original significant Redskins observers on Twitter, which of course now is X. Brent is an OG Skins observer on Twitter/X. He has broken news. In fact, it was Brent who broke the news of then Skins quarterback Alex Smith dealing with post-surgery complications of him suffering the gruesomely broken right fibula and tibia in the Skins loss to the Houston Texans at FedEx Field in November 2018. You can follow Brent on X at Burgundy Blog. He mostly operates in anonymity, although we do know a few things about him, including that he is a doctor, but he's a good man. He and I have become friends over the years, and it's nice to talk to him. Hey, Brent, how are you?
I'm great. I'm excited. Thanks for having me, Al. I want to say something first about you and your show. And this is not just flattery. I say this as a sort of semi-retired podcaster myself. Of all of the Skins-related shows out there, and there are too many these days, yours is the only one that I do not miss. You're the best, Al. Your show is thorough and informative with the least amount of nonsense, and I think you're doing a fantastic job, so keep it up.
Well, I appreciate that a lot. Very nice of you to say that. Every Commanders fan, of course, has had his or her own experience as a fan of the team. I wanted to have you on, not because you speak for all Commanders fans, but because your journey as a fan of the team likely is very similar to the journeys of a lot of people listening. You grew up as a major Skins fan. Your affection for the team waned during the Dan Snyder years, including with the loss of the Redskins name and logo. But now your passion for the team is very much back. How would you describe the state of your fandom of the team?
Yeah, everything you just said is pretty fair. As a kid, starting as a Skins fan in like '91, we all know what happened around that time. I was pretty fierce and rabid for a long time. Even though in those years after the last Super Bowl, they weren't always awesome, but they were very awesome to me. And then through the Dan Snyder years, your listeners don't need me to remind them, what a disaster it was almost annually. It became harder for me, and I think many, to be enthusiastic, not just because they're losing so much, but the way that they were losing and the way that they were presented publicly, and so many of the team decisions were so embarrassing, and so many of the guys who were in charge just seemed to be like bad guys. And, unfortunately for me, that long period kind of coincided with like my peak as what should have been my prime, I think, as a fan in terms of like my ability and availability to be blogging and tweeting and stuff like that. And so I spent a lot of my time online over the last like 15 years complaining. And things really started to just like lose their thrill. And then that sort of depression kind of ruined a lot of great things, like even the best of the RG3 times. We're just still sort of influenced by that. Well, lately, there's the whole thing with the name and the branding, and I do definitely miss the things that I was familiar with and fond of for so long. But the team now, is not just good. I mean, not only do we have like nice looking odds to be, potential Super Bowl contenders, and not only do we have like the best young quarterback in the game, but it's like the whole project is something I feel I'm no longer ashamed to be associated with. And listen, I have no delusions. Like I have no role in the team's success, none whatsoever. So the whole idea of like being a part of it is a little bit abstract. But, I remember saying on Twitter a year ago that for the longest time, like I would never say we when I was referring to the team, like many people do. And like, I think a fan should feel free to do, to be honest. I mean, it's not really, doesn't totally make sense, but I stopped saying we for so long because it was like, what I'm seeing with this franchise and this team, it doesn't represent me. I don't feel like I'm part of it. And I don't, even when I was following very closely for many years, I didn't really want it to be attached to me. And so now that's not true. It's just not true anymore. Like, it's so cool and exciting. And I have such a confidence in the people, from ownership to the front office, to the coaching staff, to the most important players. It's like, these are people that you want, and not only are they good now, but like you want them to be good. And, that is awesome. That, as a fan, like what more can you ask for? It's like, not only are the X's and O's are fun and the record is nice, but it's like, you don't feel gross anymore supporting them. And, so I think that speaks for me, succinctly, but over a long time frame. It's really exciting to, feel like I can, there's nothing holding me back from being fully attached now.
You despise the name Commanders. You have made that clear. The improved ownership, the improved football operations, the team having a young superstar quarterback, does all of that make up for the name issue? Does one have nothing to do with the other?
I think this is a terrific question that a lot of fans are to some people, just judging from like what I see in my interactions on Twitter, some people think this is obvious, and the only thing that should matter at all is if they're respectable and successful, and they are now. So, why should it matter to anyone like what the logo is or what we call them? And then there's this whole other bucket of people that I'm in that thinks those things matter. And I think, permit me to be a little philosophical. I think part of this, because I was thinking about this ahead of time when I knew we were going to be talking, fandom, like sports fandom is inherently irrational. Okay. I mean, it's extremely popular. It's like ubiquitous. Everybody does it. And it's easy to identify a team or a player and feel like you're kind of connected, and then therefore follow and root for that person or club. But, I've only even barely sort of peripherally met one or two people that are connected with the organization. I don't really have any reason to care about them other than just like feeling, right? And because so much of fandom is like feeling and vibe, I think a lot of people feel like what they look like and how you describe them and how you name them, it matters a lot for the feeling. It matters a lot for the experience of being a fan. So I'm not the slightest bit dismissive of people of any age. I mean, I'm mid-40s, so I think a lot of us are in my age range. But young or old, I'm not at all dismissive of the people who care quite a lot what the name is, what the color is, what the look is, and even, how the helmets look and whether it's the W or the Indian or whatever. I mean, it's all a part of how we think of them and how we feel when we're at the stadium or how we feel when we're watching TV. And I mean, how we feel when we're just chatting about them with buddies. That's like the crux of the whole fan experience to me. So it does, bringing it back to your question, like it does hurt me a little, and it does subtract from the experience a little, even now when the future is like so bright and Jaden is just the bomb and like Dan Quinn is no nonsense and not into gimmicks and he knows what he's doing. It subtracts a little bit from me that if they hit the pinnacle and they win the Super Bowl, they're going to be up there doing it as the Commanders. I'm sorry. I think for a lot of reasons, it's just an objectionable name. So I'm not going to act like it doesn't matter at all. Now, is that, I think for some, it's such a big problem that it's prohibitive and they're not even able to enjoy this newfound success. That's a real bummer. I think, I think those people are allowed to feel that way. I'm not quite to that point. I'm definitely enjoying where we are now. But yeah, there's a little bit of tarnish. And I think that if they get there, if they get over the hump to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl, I'm personally going to feel like they're doing it for the Redskins and for the legacy.
What is your current philosophy when it comes to how you refer to the team when writing about it on X?
Well, I'll say, first of all, why do I hate the name so much? Let me just briefly list the reasons. First of all, I'm perhaps principally, it being the last vestige of the Dan Snyder era is a big obstacle for me. It being one of the last major things he did with the team before bugging out. I think it has a stink. Almost whatever it was, there would be that factor. Secondly, the name Commanders. To me personally, hey, I get it. It's subjective. It's an opinion. I think it's kind of a cringy name. I think it's kind of self-important. I think it's generic. I think it's sterile and corporate. To me, it just screams like focus group. Like I think they were really trying to get something where everybody could say, I'm a commander, you're a commander, and it would be harder to say I'm a Red Hawk or whatever. I think the name, yeah, if it, almost any new name was going to, obviously wasn't going to please everybody immediately, but I think this name lacks character. And then thirdly, it's so hard to, it's a mouthful to say and it's impossible to shorten. I just think it's so important. A lot of people poo-poo this, but like having an easy nickname to riff with, like Nats or Wiz or Caps or obviously Skins, it's a big deal. I mean, you can just, maybe not to everybody, but to me, to somebody who's writing it a lot and just saying it a lot, and there's just nothing good. So for a long time over these last few years, I've like been purposely like tweeting versions of the name that were like most annoying, like Durs. And just like commies and because like almost to draw extra attention to the fact that they just completely overlooked this aspect. Lately, I'll be honest, like almost through the whole process, I've never really stopped referring to them as the Skins to my friends. So now mostly I'm just tweeting Skins, and it's not like really to make some point anymore. It's just, to me, like that's still what they are. It's obviously easy to say. It feels good. It feels right. And now that they're good, I just want to enjoy the experience, and I just want them to be my Skins.
What was your reaction to Commanders managing partner Josh Harris during his end-of-season press conference this past February 3rd, making it clear that the team is sticking with the name Commanders?
Yeah, I mean, I was disappointed to hear it be pretty definitive, as you said. But no, I wouldn't say it's to the point of me being mad. I understand. I mean, there's a certain reality. When you're talking about branding, yeah, of course it's dicey to just be changing the thing like over and over. You run the risk of just running it into the ground or into anonymity. I also think that there's something to be said for like, okay, we're taking over. Let's just let the dust settle. Let's let this play out. Let's see if it does kind of catch on. I don't blame him. I mean, in my most ambitious hopes, he would have come in and said, hey, new sheriff is here. This thing is a disaster. We immediately know it, and we're going to do something about it. I would have celebrated that, but I can't say I ever really expected it. It just kind of seems like it makes sense that there would be a period of inactivity on the name front to sort of see how it plays out. I think he's within his rights, and I don't blame him. I also think, I've heard things from people close to some in the ownership group that they don't like the name, that the actual owners just don't like Commanders, but that there's a certain practical reality of the situation. So it is what it is. Could it someday be something else? I mean, I think it's possible, but I don't need that to happen for me to keep caring and keep enjoying it.
Much more with Brent, a.k.a. Burgundy Blog, on X in moments, but a congratulations to our friend Chris Nace, lead attorney for the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. Chris has been named a 2025 Law Dragon 500 leading plaintiff consumer lawyer. His dedication to justice and client advocacy continues to make a real impact. Also, congrats to Samantha Peters of the Nace Law Group. She was recently elected to the Board of Governors of the Trial Lawyers Association of Metropolitan Washington, D.C. Founded in 1979, the Nace Law Group is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group is outstanding. Chris Nace and the rest of the team do excellent work. They'll fight for you and your family. They can help you and your family make difficult decisions. So the Nace Law Group has recovered millions of dollars for the sick and injured. If you have a case, contact the Nace Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com. And make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. We're talking with Brent, a.k.a. Burgundy Blog on X, about the state of Commanders fandom 5 years after the retirements of the Redskins name and logo. Jayden Daniels, perhaps no single person is more responsible for being a fan of this team, being the best that being a fan of this team has been in years than him. Is there anything about him or his all-time great rookie season that makes you have any holdups about saying that our team finally has a solution at quarterback?
Yeah, I don't have anything spicy or contrarian to say on that, Al. I mean, he sure seems pretty legit to me. And I say this as someone where I freely admitted on Twitter, and I think I said even on your show last year that, come draft time, I was in the Drake May camp. I felt like Drake May was a little bit safer bet. I felt like physically he was more the prototype. And by the way, I still think Drake May is going to be an awesome player. So it's not like I think if the Skins had drafted him, it would have been some colossal disaster. But man, Jayden Daniels just has so many dimensions. And, it's obviously incredibly elite, freakish physical ability, but clearly like he's above the, from the neck up, he's got the game to match. And I mean, when you got those two things together, to me, the biggest worry is still health, but not even so much like specific to him. I was quite a bit, quite worried when he came out about the frame. But I think I just kind of have the standard worry that I would about anybody for that matter, including Pat Mahomes. Any quarterback could go down, So yeah, like in a moment's notice, God forbid, like I don't foresee it, but like. I think health is the only thing potentially standing in his way because he's from a standpoint of like leadership and personality, he seems to vibe with everybody from staff to all the players. They all buy into him. He's making good decisions with the ball. His running ability on third and fourth and short cannot be overstated. He has completely changed the offense for the team. The defenses obviously are petrified to face what he does in short yardage. And that's why they went from so bad to so good so quickly. Like he's a world beater. So there's really nothing holding me back from total enthusiasm about him.
What do you think about what the Commanders have done this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I think they didn't rock the boat too much. And I think that's fine. Like you had a good thing going. So are there certain position groups that they probably could have addressed a little bit, more significantly, like pass rush? I mean, I do wonder a little where that's going to come from. Not that Fowler was like, MVP that we've lost there, but I'm not sure that there's a lot of just like natural stacked talent on there. But, I think the idea of keeping the stars together, keeping the leaders together, and keeping the momentum going is smart. Clearly what they've done on the defensive side of the ball is like largely aimed at better control against the run. That was smart. They got gashed in key situations late in the season and in the playoffs last year. I think that there was an emphasis on getting guys who could be like relied on more to fulfill their assignments instead of like the flashiest, most athletic. And, it doesn't in the offseason, that's not necessarily going to, get a ton of A+ from the media, but it's probably what they needed. I think it's probably going to be a stabilizing influence. So to me, the roster looks pretty good.
You grew up in the DC area, right?
Yeah, Northern Virginia in my formative years.
Okay, so you remember how big of a deal the Redskins were during the team's glory days of the 1980s and early 1990s. Is the team being that big of a deal again possible, given everything that has happened with the team since then? And one thing that I'll make mention of that I do think is an underrated factor in this is that the NFL today is a much bigger deal than the NFL was back then. There in the 1980s and early 1990s was a legitimate debate about what was the number one pro sports league in this country. There no longer is that debate. The answer is the NFL by miles. And so perhaps the damage done to the team from 1993 through 2023 is offset, at least somewhat, by the NFL being this colossal rising tide these days. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, definitely there's a hunger for it. And, you know, when RFK was bouncing around in the 80s, you know, the DMV showed that there was an appetite. And I mean, I don't think that the population has changed so much that should no longer be the case. I wonder a little bit if, I mean, I don't mean to contradict anything you said about the NFL being absolute and a total leviathan and basically just controlling the whole American calendar now. At the same time, you know, in the modern era, like, people are so distracted by so many different things now. I wonder if there will be the same number of just like complete sold out, totally obsessed diehards, no matter how good the team is. You know, because there's just so many different ways to watch now. A lot of people watch on delay. A lot of people are just watching Red Zone. And a lot of people are mainly invested in fantasy more so than real teams. And so I don't know if it could reach the same fever pitch that it did. I mean, maybe there's enough people for it. But that would be the one question I would have. And I think, though, that I don't want to get ahead of myself, but they've got the pieces in place. I mean, ownership, like QB is probably the most important thing, and hopefully we've got a decade more of this one. After that, it's ownership in terms of like long-term prospects. And like these guys, they just know how to make decisions correctly. They're not always going to be right. They're not going to do everything right, and the team's not always going to be good. But, you know, I think the pieces are there for a lot. Every year is a new opportunity and a new shot at it. And I think they're going to have a lot of legitimate shots. In the past, it was like you were just praying for 9-7 and then get lucky. And now it's like, it feels like almost every year there's going to be a real chance. So as that builds, you know, it will probably take 5 or 10 years. But man, if they go deep a couple of times, I really think that DC will be pretty on fire again.
Brent, a.k.a. Burgundy Blog on X, a journey as a Commanders fan likely quite similar to the journeys of a lot of Commanders fans. Brent, thanks. All the best.
Thank you, Al. You're the man.
All right. Hey, if you are planning a party, a family reunion, a wedding, a corporate gathering, and aren't sure where to start or what to do, no worries, no stress. Just visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Catering by Uptown is run by the Pereiras, who are great Commanders fans and loyal supporters of this podcast. Catering by Uptown provides both great service and a great price. Catering by Uptown is a family business, and it specializes in handling everything so that you don't have to. Catering by Uptown understands that special events deserve to be celebrated in style. Catering by Uptown takes care of every detail so that you can enjoy your event. Catering by Uptown is committed to meeting your needs and exceeding your expectations. Great service, amazing cuisine, and reliability are the foundation of what makes Catering by Uptown one of the most referred caterers throughout Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Northern Virginia. And know this, if you visit cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you can set up your own personal tour of one of Catering by Uptown's premier venues, including outstanding waterfront venues. Catering by Uptown offers the ability to coordinate services at over 100 of the best reception halls, vineyards, farms, historic homes, event venues, banquet facilities, and wedding venues in the area. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Well, this coming weekend is a big weekend for the Nationals. They have the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 MLB Draft, which begins on Sunday evening. The draft taking place over Sunday and Monday at the Coca-Cola Roxy in Georgia. As we have discussed, drafting and player development were two major problems with Mike Rizzo as the Nats president of baseball operations and general manager. Nats managing principal owner Mark Lerner, as you may have heard, he this past Sunday evening fired Rizzo and manager Davey Martinez. You know, it says a lot that the Nats had no problem firing Rizzo a week before an MLB draft in which the team has the number 1 overall pick. I mean, think about that. The Nats decided that they were better off without Rizzo running this draft that he has been preparing for months to run. We shall see how interim general manager Mike DiBartolo does in presiding over this draft. Other key members of the Nats front office regarding the draft are Vice President of Amateur Scouting Danny Haas and Senior Director of Amateur Scouting Brad Cialek, each of whom was hired by the Nats in October 2023. Meantime, the Nats lost at the St. Louis Cardinals 8-1 on Thursday night to lose 2 out of 3 games in the series. The Nats in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 38-55 with a run differential of -89, second worst run differential in the National League. The Nats in this game just 1 run, just 4 hits, which were a double and 3 singles. The Nats did work 3 walks, but the Nats went 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. Cardinals starting pitcher Miles Mikolas, who over the years has owned the Nats, he tossed 5 2/3 scoreless innings with 6 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He threw 71 pitches, 50 strikes versus just 21 balls. The Nats' lone extra base hit was by C.J. Abrams. He is the Nats' starting shortstop and number 1 batter, went 1 for 4 with a double. But what stood out with Abrams the most was this. He, in the top of the 8th, grounded into a 5-6-3 double play for the final 2 outs, and he on the play slowed up, thinking that the out at second base ended the inning. He was thrown out at first base because he mistakenly slowed down, probably could have beaten out the throw. He did not beat out the throw because he slowed down. Now, Abrams, during his postgame session with reporters on Thursday night, did admit that he needs to be more aware. Quote, "I got to be more aware than that," end quote. So good on him for that. And look, Abrams overall is having a very good season. He, for this regular season, as of games through Wednesday, was number 9 in the majors in offensive wins above replacement per Baseball Reference, 3.7. Nats left fielder James Wood was number 8 at 3.8. But that mental mistake by Abrams in the top of the 8th on Thursday night was a bad look, and to me was emblematic of a Nats team that way too often is sloppy on the base paths and sloppy on the field. You know, lack of fundamentals, lack of attention to detail, and there was more sloppiness on the field in this game. We'll get to that momentarily. The Nats starting pitcher in this 8-1 loss at the Cardinals on Thursday night was Michael Soroka. He lasted for just 4 innings. He allowed 2 runs in 4 innings. He gave up 4 hits, which were a double and 3 singles. He issued 2 walks and 2 wild pitches. He recorded 4 strikeouts. He, over his mere 4 innings, threw a whopping 91 pitches, 57 strikes versus 34 balls. And the Nats bullpen in this 8-1 loss at the Cardinals on Thursday night got ripped. 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 6 runs in 4 innings. Andrew Chafin tossed a perfect bottom of the 5th, but Mason Thompson officially allowed 5 runs in a third of an inning. He and the Cardinals' 5-run 6th faced 6 batters but got just 1 out as he allowed each of the first 5 batters in the bottom of the 6th to reach base. Thompson gave up a double and 3 singles and issued a walk. He was plagued by some sloppy defense, including shortstop C.J. Abrams whiffing on a grounder off the bat of Joel Pozo on a bases-loaded RBI single into left field on an 0-2 pitch for a 4-0 Cardinals lead. Again, bad fundamentals. Jackson Rutledge, he officially allowed 1 run in 1 2/3 innings with 3 strikeouts, but he and the Cardinals' 5-run 6 gave up a 2-out full count opposite field RBI double by Mason Wynn into right field for a 7-0 Cardinals lead, and Rutledge in the bottom of the 7th gave up a leadoff opposite field home run by Wilson Contreras to right center field for an 8-0 Cardinals lead. Kyle Finnegan did toss a perfect bottom of the 8th. Next up for the Nats is their final series before the All-Star break, a 3-game series at the Milwaukee Brewers. Game 1 Friday night at 8:10. Mitchell Parker will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 2 Saturday afternoon at 4:10. Shinosuke Ogasawara will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 3 Sunday afternoon at 2:10. Jake Irvin will be the Nats starting pitcher.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
NetCredit is here to say yes, because you're more than a credit score. Apply in minutes and get a decision as soon as the same day. Loans offered by NetCredit or lending partner banks and serviced by NetCredit. Application subject to review and approval. Learn more at netcredit.com/partners. NetCredit. Credit to the people.
So the Nationals have the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 MLB Draft, which begins this Sunday evening. And the Orioles now have 4 of the top 37 picks in the 2025 MLB Draft. The numbers 19, 30, 31, and 37 overall picks. The O's on Thursday morning made a trade, and then the O's on Thursday afternoon and evening swept a doubleheader against the New York Mets at Oriole Park at Camden Yards to win 2 out of 3 games in the series. Thursday afternoon, a 3-1 win over the Mets in Game 1 of the doubleheader, in a game in which the O's overcame a 1-0 eighth-inning deficit by scoring 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th. And then Thursday evening, a 7-3 win over the Mets to complete the Orioles' first sweep of a regular season doubleheader since incredibly June 25th, 2016, as the O's, Joe Angel, were back in the win column.
And the Orioles again in the win column.
Yes, Joe, the win column. The O's in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 42-50, including 26-16 since their 16-34 start. And if you are curious about the managerial breakdown for this regular season, the O's under Brandon Hyde, 15-28. The O's under Tony Mansolino, 27-22. The O's have been playing well for weeks now. And the O's on Thursday morning announced having traded reliever Bryan Baker to the Tampa Bay Rays for the number 37 overall pick in the 2025 MLB Draft, what is a pick in the competitive balance round A of the draft. I really like this trade from an Orioles perspective, flipping, let's be honest, a so-so reliever who the O's claimed off waivers from the Toronto Blue Jays in November 2021 and who is in his age 30 season for the number 37 overall pick in an MLB draft. This, to me, was a terrific trade by Orioles Executive Vice President and General Manager Mike Elias, who does have a lot to be thinking about regarding the 2025 MLB trade deadline, which is not far away, July 31st at 6 p.m. Eastern. The O's overall are having a disappointing season. Now, personally, I view this season more as a confluence of a lot of bad things than a sign that the O's need to blow everything up. But the O's do have a number of players who are set to be free agents this coming offseason. Should the O's trade these players in the lead up to the deadline? The players include starting pitchers Zach Eflin, Charlie Morton, and Tomoyuki Sagano, relievers Sir Anthony Dominguez and Gregory Soto, first baseman / outfielder Ryan O'Hearn, and outfielder Cedric Mullins. Mike Elias did a session with reporters on Thursday morning. Here were the final few exchanges of that session.
Is it at all possible that there's a scenario where this team can play well enough in the next few weeks that you could actually be a buyer at the deadline?
It's definitely possible. It's mathematically possible. The games have to happen, and we'll hope that we are.
Do you see any way in which you could kind of thread the needle of selling and buying, maybe adding some major league talent while also shipping off guys who are on this team?
I think it's anytime you're making trades or transactions, it's very possible that we get major league talent back, or that we go out and get somebody that we feel like is going to help in the very near term. So we're preparing for everything. it's early. This trade happened early because of the draft pick. The full picture hasn't revealed itself in terms of what all the teams are going to do and what all the players are going to be available, but our group is working on that.
Are you committed to making this team a winner in 2026 and not going through another rebuild?
Yes.
All right, Mike Elias committing to not igniting another rebuild for the O's, who to me did not need another rebuild. The question would be, do you stay all in on this season, or do you trade away your pending free agents and replenish what you have in terms of prospects and then move forward as a win-now team beginning with this coming offseason? But there still is a lot of good young talent on this team. The O's just need to have better injury luck, and the team does need some tinkering. As for this doubleheader sweep of the Mets on Thursday, the 3-1 win over the Mets in Game 1 of the doubleheader. The O's scored just 3 runs, a total just 6 hits, which were a home run and 5 singles. The O's did work 4 walks, but the O's went 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. The 7-3 win over the Mets in Game 2 of the doubleheader. The O's scored 7 runs, totaled 9 hits, worked 3 walks, and went 3 for 13 with runners in scoring position. The 9 hits were a home run, 4 doubles, and 4 singles. Very good doubleheader for Gunnar Henderson. He in Game 1 came off the bench and homered. He and the Orioles, a 3-run 8th, had a pinch 2-run homer to right field for a 2-1 Orioles lead. And Henderson in Game 2, as the Orioles starting shortstop and number 3 batter, went 3 for 5 with a double and 2 singles. Gunnar Henderson for this regular season is number 2 among all qualified Orioles players in OPS at 794. He's not having the MVP caliber season that he had last season, but he does now have an OPS of nearly 800. Also, Jordan Westburg, he in Game 2 as the Orioles starting second baseman and number 2 batter, went 1 for 5 with a 2-run homer and an RBI fielder's choice grounder. Westburg in an Orioles 3-run second had a 2-out first pitch 2-run homer to left field for a 3-2 Orioles lead. The homer winner projected 413 feet per StatCast. The Orioles starting pitching in this doubleheader sweep of the Mets on Thursday. Good in Game 1, good enough in Game 2. The 3-1 win over the Mets in Game 1 of the doubleheader. Charlie Morton was good for a 6th time in 8 starts. The resurgence of Charlie Morton continues. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings. He gave up 4 hits, which were 2 doubles and 2 singles. He issued 3 walks, one of which was intentional. He recorded 4 strikeouts. He threw a lot of strikes, 104 pitches, 70 strikes versus just 34 balls. So the O's this past January 3rd announced having agreed with Morton on a 1-year contract as a free agent. The contract reportedly a 1-year, $15 million contract. This is his age 41 season. Morton was in the Orioles rotation to begin this regular season. He was horrendous. He was demoted to the bullpen in late April, but he has so earned his way back into the rotation. In the 7-3 win over the Mets in Game 2 of the doubleheader, Tomoyuki Sagano, who had been bad in each of his previous 5 starts, allowed 3 runs in 6 innings. So certainly not great, but a lot better than what he had been doing. He gave up 4 hits, which were a double, and 3 singles. He issued 3 walks, one of which was intentional. He recorded 2 strikeouts. He threw 99 pitches, 60 strikes versus 39 balls. Good to see Sagano have what was officially a quality start. Here was Orioles interim manager Tony Mansolino during his postgame press conference on Thursday evening on Tomoyuki Sagano.
Yeah, I mean, he threw the ball great. He's going to get some time off now. I don't know where he lines up right now. There's a couple of different spots kind of discussed with him in terms of, being the 5th guy and getting the full time, and maybe that might be too much time. So, pitching group we'll all sit down, kind of navigate and figure out, get player input, see where things should go. We got guys going on rehab and all that stuff coming Sunday too. So, there's a lot of moving pieces there. But just really happy for Tomo. He's a very successful and proud player who's, done incredible things in his career. And what the way the last month went was probably the first time in his career he's ever gone through that. So to see him kind of come out on top against, a playoff caliber team, a team that's, I think, a half game out of the NL East or whatever it is, pretty tough division, is something he should have a lot of pride in.
All right, and the Orioles bullpen in this doubleheader sweep of the Mets on Thursday was great. Orioles relievers over the 2 games combined for 6 scoreless innings. The 3-1 win over the Mets in Game 1 of the doubleheader. 2 Orioles relievers combined for 3 scoreless innings. Grant Wolfram tossed 2 scoreless innings with 4 swinging strikeouts. The O's on Thursday morning announced having appointed Wolfram from AAA Norfolk as the team's 27th player for the doubleheader, and Felix Bautista tossed a perfect top of the 9th for the save. In the 7-3 win over the Mets in Game 2 of the doubleheader. 3 Orioles relievers combined for 3 scoreless innings. Andrew Kittredge tossed a perfect top of the 7th. Gregory Soto tossed a perfect top of the 8th. And Sir Anthony Dominguez tossed a scoreless top of the 9th with 2 swinging strikeouts, despite giving up a leadoff single and issuing a 1-out walk. More from Tony Mansolino during his postgame presser on Thursday evening.
You guys don't want to hear it, but there's still time, and despite, making a move this morning, and I'm sure our obituary is probably getting written somewhere this morning because we made a trade. Next thing you know, this Wolfram guy shows up, and the way he threw the ball, and Selby shows up in the second game, and he's got great stuff. You guys seen him here quite a bit and have success already in the big leagues. So, and the fellas went out and played, man, and they had energy, and it was a really good day.
Yes, it was. Next up for the O's is their final series before the All-Star break, a 3-game series against the Miami Marlins at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Game 1 Friday night at 7:05, Dean Kramer will be the Orioles starting pitcher. Game 2 Saturday afternoon at 4:05, Trevor Rogers will be the Orioles starting pitcher. Game 3 Sunday afternoon at 1:35, Brandon Young will be the Orioles starting pitcher. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Monday show, episode 1112. We'll have a lot for you on the Commanders. Also on Monday's show, I'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats this weekend have a 3-game series at the Milwaukee Brewers. The O's this weekend have a 3-game series against the Miami Marlins at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. And we on Sunday evening have the start of the 2025 MLB Draft, in which the Nats have the number 1 overall pick, and the O's have the numbers 19, 30, 31, and 37 overall picks. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday.
What is the new team name?
Doug, what is it?
We are the Commanders.
We are the Commanders.
The Commanders. The Washington Commanders.
That's right.
Oh, wow. You didn't waste any time there.
There it is.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.